What are some of the useful things that you help people with in terms of the story aspect?
So people get messed up with stories, man. Because everybody knows you got to tell stories, right? So if you look at boring speakers, they're not telling stories. Now, I look at attention graphs on my webinars, okay? Anybody that don't know, attention graphs are things like, like attention over time. And it kind of goes like this, like 100% of people watch the video, then it trails off. And at the end of the video, less people watch than from the beginning. It's called an attention graph. A regular curve looks kind of like this. That's kind of a regular curve. Right? That's the attention graph. So one of my webinars, the attention graph looked kind of like this. I was like, what? What's going on there? I was like,
what's going on there? Yeah, if you're watching or listening to this on podcast, it's kind of like a decreasing stairwell where there's a drop off over time to where it gets down to zero. So yeah.
Yeah. So one of them is a smooth curve that represents a natural thing, and the other one is like a staircase. I was like, what's happening there? So I went and I just used the drag on my mouse to just see what happened at the exact minutes. Exactly the times where I would finish a story, steep drop off, and then everything retention flat, end of a story, drop off. That means people, when they're listening to your webinar, dear spiritual person, try to influence the world for the good, they will keep on listening until the end of the story. As soon as the story ends, they're moving on. Think of you as you're watching a TV show or they get to the end of the TV show, they always hook you up with the next story that's coming. So they know that there's a device to keep you in there, because when the story ends, this is where the parenthesis ends. Now, you can only open loop people so much before they get pissed off. Okay? So if you don't finish your story and you start another one, it's called an open loop, people will want to hear the end of the thing. But if you see, sorry for the podcast listeners if you don't see this, but there's a straighter line which is 17 minutes long. And I was like, nobody was going off of that thing. I was like, what's going on there? It's what I call money shots. A money shot is a demonstration, a proof, a powerful stat, an example, a live case study, something real which is other than a story. A science experiment that goes poof, something that makes a lot of noise or a big point. So there's two things you need to do. If you're a boring speaker, you're reading your slides, you're out of the water, because now AI can do that better than anyone. If you're just reading the slides, look at HeyGen, the AI thing, HeyGen. It can read the slides in any skin color, any accent, any language, boom, and it can write it itself. So step one is you use stories to create transformational paths for the audience. And you layer two stories and what we call a money shot. That's the system. So the way you choose your stories, Kylie, is you ask yourself, okay, what do I want the audience to do? Do I want them to stop polluting the ocean? Do I want them to buy my coaching program? Do I want them to stop smoking? Do I want them to adopt an idea? What do you want them to do physically? Like, what is the thing that after the talk is over, do they click a button, download, swipe, vote, jump around, do something? Don't kill themselves. That would be nice. So you want them to do something. And this is what informs story selection. So you don't start with, well, what do I want to say? Because you're past that. As soon as somebody can get out of their own head enough, which is phase one, baseline confidence, you're not worried about you and you're not fishing for compliments. As soon as you can get out of there enough, you can start thinking from the perspective of the marketplace or the audience. And you're crafting a message, because we do this because we know we help people increase their conversion rates and stuff. So not just speaking to say, oh, I did a speech, but I did a speech and that many people bought and I made that much money. It was great. Let's do it again. Okay, so higher conversion rates or higher buy-ins. So once you have what people want, what you want them to do, let's say you want them to stop polluting the ocean. All right, that's a good thing. That's the physical action. Then you ask yourself, what will that give them if they do that? Why would they do that? And then we map the call to action that we call it physical call to action. We map that to what we call a charismatic call to action, which is basically we're mapping archetypes, big emotional drivers, things that were true 1,000 years ago and will be true in 1,000 years. The big 5, big 7, big 8, whatever the number you're using, emotional driver that drive humans, respect, significance, love, contribute, all that type of stuff, you know. So we map it to one of those things. This is how we Steve Jobs-ify our message, dear Kylie. Charismatic messaging. So now we ask yourself, okay, you want them to, you know, buy your coaching program, do whatever. It will give, if they do that, it will give them significance, love, respect, status, whatever the thing is. Okay. Now, what does that want the audience to do? Oh, my Lord. What does that thing, if this, now we have a hypnotic process so that you become that thing in a thing called deep trance identification. But if you just want to think about it kind of, you know, off the top of your head, just imagine that you become that idea, you become that thing as a visualization. And you as love, significance, respect, status, what do you want the audience to do? Well, I want them to do this. Okay. I was doing a live demonstration and the guy says, love wants you to mend the family tree. Love wants you to reconnect with the family tree and heal your family. Okay. So this is an example. Okay. Why won't they do that? So now we go, Kylie, I think you're a copywriter. Now we go into the objection stack. So why won't they do that? So all of a sudden, your call to action and your messaging, the baseline emotional logic of your arguments and your structure and your sequences and your emotional sequencing is not based on what you want them to do. It's based on what a huge emotional archetypal driver that already drives them want them to do. And why won't they do that? Tracking? So once we got that, now as a speaker, oh Lord, does that feel good? Because now you're siding with the audience. It's not you against them try to arm wrestle the audience. It's you helping them get what they want. Because ultimately you're aligning yourself with the deep emotional drivers that already drive them. Okay? So now we have a process for chunking these objections into what we call an objection stool. Like we can, you know, like there's the big one and then like a tree of objections. And once we have that, we just create from 2 stories. So Kylie, you could tell 7 stories. You could tell the time about you got your tattoo. You could tell about the time you got a bunch of stories, but you will choose the stories that do fit with minimum of 2 things. Number 1 is it does the transformation that the audience needs to have in order for them to do what this big overarching thing wants them to do. Okay. So if they need to go from fear to faith, well, out of the 7 stories that you could tell, you choose the one that is from fear to faith. And if you have 2 or 3, you take the one that resonates best with that audience. And if you have 7, well, you take the one that fits better with your brand and stuff. So we take 2 of these stories together. So you come in, you have a hook. Come on. You're going to get on stage. Anybody here listening, you got to have a hook. Step 1 is the hook, of course. So you come in, you have the hook. Boom. Then you move on to story 1, which is a transformational story aligned with deep, honest, pre-existing desires in the audience that gives them a transformation, which is a true story that you don't need a script to tell a true story. I mean, I was with my grandma and then blah, blah, blah. You just tell the real story. But it has to have a transformational element baked in. Then you move on to the second story. Blah, 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 same thing, blah, 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 which acts as a priming mechanism, as a seeding mechanism in the mind for the money shot. the big demonstration, the big point, the big aha moment, the demonstration, the prop, the stat. The thing is, we work with that. We create that with you or for you sometimes. And then here's the gold, which people love so much with that system, because you speak without script. And there's no stress. There's no script, no memorization. Your note says, whatever your hook is, then it says grandma, and then it says skateboard. Tell your grandma story, skateboard story, demonstration. Then you wrap it up by wrapping the point of the second story, and then you finish with the point of the first story. And this makes the wrap up and the callback effect that great comedians do. When you see a great comedian end with the joke that they started, that they set up in the beginning, the crowd just loses it, right? They go, oh, I do that. How did they do that? That's because we set it up like this. So let me draw it for people that can see the video here. You draw it like that. So you come in with a hook that has a through line baked in with your call to action. And Kylie, we have a charismatic call to action. That's why it's time to mend the heart of the family. And then a physical call to action. And the easiest way to do that is to just pick up the phone and call your mom. And then you wrap it up just like that. So when you come at the end of your demonstration and you wrap it up like this, you have ethical, emotional torque on your audience because you're siding with them. You can put the full weight of your being as an honest person, really trying to help people. This is how you bring the torque without feeling sleazy, without twisting people's arms to doing this. It's something that they don't want to. When done properly, the charismatic call to action, it's almost as if you feel at one point, oh snap, they are cooked properly. Now's the time to drop it. And you feel a sense of moral, almost a duty to not abuse that type of power. So that's why I say I like to help honest people become more persuasive, because that type of stuff could be used for, and has been used for, some bad juju.